you for making your way down Westbrook to the Tangun Pavilion. So today, sorry, Justin, I just lodged in there.
We're going to launch it.
One's everyone got pizza, one's settled. Awesome. Okay, so overview of acupuncture and dry needling for the MP2 student. Perspectives from acupuncture and gun IMS. So we're not going to get into a huge amount of detail with any of the dry needling approaches today. I want to give you an overview rather than anything else. We're going to do with a demo so you can get a sense of what the differences are. Justin and I will talk a little bit about the clinical reasoning in terms of why we need the way we need with a specific case study. So that's kind of the game plan. So Justin and I both serve on that executive committee of the acupuncture division of the Canadian Physio Association. So that's our capacity today and the perspective that we're speaking to you from. We're here as representatives of the acupuncture division. And so what follows on from that almost straight away is that there's a declaration of conflicts of interest. This subject matter you're probably expecting to be a bit Eastern medicine, a bit Western medicine, and that's fine. That's acupuncture comes from Eastern medicine. I stand firmly on the Western side because that's the only education I've had. My Bachelor of Applied Science is from Sydney, it's in physio. My Master's is in manual therapy, University of Western Australia. My PhD, I'm doing rehab sciences here. My training is UBC Gun IMS. I instruct Gun IMS. I'm the assistant director of the program. So that's good for you guys to know where I'm coming from when I'm speaking to you today. Justin.
Yeah.
Justin, tell you about himself.
It's quite impressive. I'm coming from a different perspective here as well. I recently graduated from UBC, 2016 here. Been working as a physiotherapist for 3 years. And right actually when I was even in my master's program, I already started studying here with Acupuncture Canada, and then did my levels A1 and A2 in neuroanatomical acupuncture. And so I use that in my daily practice in Abbotsford. I also are currently the physiotherapist in the pain program there. So working in that perspective. Been part of the CPA division here for 5 years. They actually recruited me in my first year of BT1. So if you're interested in hearing a little bit more about our division here, come talk to us. We're a division here that's wanting to kind of get engaged with students a little bit more. This is why we're producing this particular lecture here, starting at UBC, but also going to the other schools as well across Canada. And there's options for you to be involved here. In particular here, we're all going to be going to Ottawa here to celebrate the CPA's event here called the Congress. We gathered together to learn that. You can learn more here on our website, cpaacupuncture.ca. How are you doing so far for voice? Can you hear me in the back? It's good? Okay, pizza's okay? Yeah? Awesome. Here's our outline for today. Very simple. It's going to be about 30 minutes of us talking. We'll talk from my perspective here for the acupuncture and the gun IMS. After that, we're going to be doing a demonstration here in the other room. We'll all vacate. We'll leave, we'll go there, and we'll come back into the room at the very end here for final questions here. We're going to be learning about what acupuncture is, the difference between acupuncture and dry needling from our perspectives here, some of the safety regulations of what's happening here, and also the college regulations, learning about how to get money for actually taking these courses, and at the end here, of course, we're doing the demonstration. Acupuncture here is a holistic medicine. It's been around for millennia. Some say 2,000 years, 3,000 years, so on and so forth. The first Chinese that described here acupuncture as these sharp metal sticks they put into the soldiers to help heal them. But now it kind of encompasses here not only just acupuncture, which is the fine metal, it's called metallic needles, but also cupping, burning sensations here, examining the internal and external environments of the body here. And you can kind of see it when I even say the word acupuncture, kind of people are thinking like I'm intrigued, I'm curious, Eastern medicine. And this is part of the aura that it has. It follows along this line here that we have in our body this qi that flows through our body. It's a bioelectric energy that flows from yin and yang, some of them getting the energy from the sun, the yang, some of the energy coming from the floor, the yin. And in Eastern Chinese medicine, they would say that there's a misbalance between the two. And acupuncture, putting a solid metallic needle into that area, can change that balance here of the energy and to optimize it. They would suggest that it's putting the needle into the body here not only helps the external environment, but also the internal organs. So you have names such as gallbladder 21 and stomach 12 and spleen 6. So it's very unusual to us here, but there is a reason behind it, and the tradition still lives on today. When as a physiotherapist, it's hard for me to hold on to that word qi and bioelectric energy because it doesn't hold a lot of weight for me in Western science. So we are now studying here in neuroanatomical acupuncture. It's a Western interpretation of how things are going, and there's a bit more scientific literature around it because you can actually measure or look at it. So we're thinking about here the meridians of the hand here, some of them starting from the fingertips and going up into the neck, into the head. We also know that they follow a certain number of nerve pathways, namely the median, ulnar, and radial nerves. And so the Chinese didn't have it all that wrong when they started to map out these meridians of the body and putting needles in certain spots here have actually found out to be very profound spots. Some of them, when you put them in, they actually glide between the nerves themselves here, and they are called a sympathetic or a parasympathetic switch, as we understand how the body produces a fight or flight or a rest and digest, and we understand that those two things are out of balance. We want to bring them back into balance for our patients themselves. So often what the time I'm doing here with acupuncture is actually stimulating nerves, not just their bioelectric energy. Let me see if that comes together. That does. So in simple here, one summary slide is that acupuncture has benefits for pain relief, for increased energy, improved mood, improved body function. The list goes on and on and on, probably maybe even too far in some stances. But as a physiotherapist, I can see that the technique works quite well. But the research does support using the technique as well. The mechanisms here are not just that it stimulates a little bit of blood flow into the area, but it's probably a lot deeper than that. It's on the spinal level. It's a neuromodulation level where I'm actually stimulating that body's area, which stimulates the nervous system, stimulates the spinal cord, stimulates the brain, and actually produces a holistic healing effect for that person in conjunction with a really good exercise plan, in conjunction with a really good motivation plan that they keep on moving as well. We're finding that it does release hormones, it does release endorphins, and it has descending inhibition here to actually produce pain relief. There's lots of examples out there in literature here where people have even surgeries just using acupuncture and a little bit of anesthetic to do a surgery. And that's what made me really interested in the acupuncture over the needling in particular here, the powerful analgesic effect. But these things don't come without their risks. This is a study here produced in China, looking at the different types of risks that were associated with acupuncture. This is looking at over 33 years of acupuncturists using it. And we noticed that the number one reported case actually here, on the top is a pneumothorax. And so actually the insertion of needles here can go wrong if it was done the wrong direction or the wrong technique or an inexperienced practitioner, or maybe it was someone just negligent here. And puncture not longer was a serious side effect. Also the side effects we understand, here is their central nervous system injuries, organ injuries here, syncope or fainting, infection, hemorrhage, broken needles, and others. So overall here, we're understanding that to do acupuncture is a restricted title right now as a physiotherapist. We have to understand which patient type we want to be doing that on, which ones we wouldn't want to be doing that on, what locations would be okay to do that and not. And if they have a mad dog symptom here, then we definitely want to be staying away from that area. Kind of like your EPA lectures, right? Yeah, same kind of thing. And so for the American Medical Association has put out a statement here that says, I'll just read, lax regulation and non-existent standards surround this dry needling and acupuncture invasive practice. For patient safety, practitioners should meet standards required for licensed acupuncturists and physicians. The Americans are a little bit different than the Canadians here, but what we're really actually speaking here today is that you got to be wise when you're choosing the courses that you're going for. Okay? Acupuncture is included with that. I'm going to change the subject here to Lyndal, and she's going to continue.
So when we're talking about, Justin's done a lovely job of covering not only the traditional Chinese medicine approach to acupuncture, but how that has morphed into the Western world and taking some of the old information and understanding it more and finding different ways of applying it, understanding why it works. When we get to trigger point dry needling or IMS, there's not a lot of that is left in terms of the underlying theory of why we stick needles where we stick them, and what we're assuming the effect of that needle is going to be. So they are quite different. It doesn't make one better than or worse than the other. They're just different. So the definitions of all these things, whether it's acupuncture, dry needling, trigger point dry needling, IMS, depending on where you look, you'll get different definitions. So definitions aren't overly helpful in trying to explain the difference between the different techniques. So the history seems to help a lot more for people to understand where all these different approaches are coming from, at least when we step away from the acupuncture approach. So Travell and Simons, you would all know, you've probably seen their enormous volumes about trigger point theory and how to treat trigger points, and they're certainly the gurus of that approach. And they have suggested treating trigger points with dry needles certainly, but their preference was for wet needling. So when you talk about a wet needle, you can either inject something or suck something out. They're hollow, cannulated, cutting, and they do tissue damage on their way in. So we call those traumatic needles, and that was Travell and Simons' treatment of choice. They would tend to inject a local anaesthetic into the trigger point. In 1973, Dr. Chan Gun, that's this building is named after him, he coined the phrase IMS, or intramuscular stimulation. So this was really moving away from the fluid-filled hollow needles and going to a dry needle, but also a solid filiform needle that didn't cause the trauma on its way in, it just kind of slipped through the tissue. And he was looking to have the effects of the needle itself. Justin's explained to you, to some extent what those effects are. If you stick a needle in someone, it doesn't matter where you put it, you're going to have an effect. And depending on, you can choose more or less effective spots to stick it. So Dr. Gunn moved to this idea of just using the dry needles into the muscles, relying purely on the effect of the dry needle itself. And he also moved away a bit from this idea that the muscle is the problem, that we need to fix this muscle with the needle. And this is where it links back a little bit to what Justin spoke to you about already, the idea that when we're using needles, probably the main thing we're doing and the thing we have the most research evidence to support is we're stimulating the nervous system and we're changing the way the nervous system functions. So Dr. Gunn looked at these trigger point problems as actually being nervous system problems, and his goal in using the needles wasn't about, breaking up trigger points. It was about stimulating the nervous system via the muscle to have therapeutic effects. So that's the background. What's happened with the term IMS? IMS became very popular, and so what happened is people who were using a more trigger point approach started saying, we do IMS, and it kind of makes sense. They're also stimulating muscles, and that's when gun IMS sort of almost had to be used to differentiate what is IMS, what is gun IMS. Gun IMS is a nervous system approach. It's a whole body approach looking at the nervous system. Maybe what has happened more with the phrase just IMS and trigger point dry needling, it's more about the local trigger point dry needling. So in moving on to gun IMS, if we move away a little bit from the Travell and Simons trigger point model, the proposed mechanism of action is that we're stimulating the sensory nerve endings, primarily in muscles. That's why we stick needles the depth that we stick them into. We stick them into needles. Justin can talk a little bit more about the depth of acupuncture. It's not my field. I don't understand acupuncture. I haven't learned acupuncture. But certainly in IMS, we stick the needle right deep into the muscle. And we're doing that deliberately to stimulate the sensory nerve endings. And the idea is, and we have evidence of this, particularly in terms of mechanical hyperalgesia, which is a sign of nervous system sensitization. When you stick a needle in a muscle, you bring about a reduction in sensitivity of the nervous system. That's very measurable. We know this through research has shown this time and time again. So this is the main thing we're trying to do with the gun IMS model, and we are expecting to affect not just the motor nervous system, but the sensory and also autonomic, and certainly those are things that you see happen with patients when they use the gun IMS approach. So why is gun IMS important for physios to use as opposed to some of our other techniques? Why would you use gun IMS as opposed to a traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture approach or a neuroanatomical acupuncture approach? The thing that gun IMS is primarily used for is for people with really persistent myofascial pain syndrome. So whether it's joint or muscle or bursa or fascia or nerve, but problems that just seem to just go on and on, you use your physio techniques that work really nicely on most people, and we have a huge range of those techniques and they're all fantastic, but you use them on people and they seem to work for a little bit and then the problem comes back. Or your techniques actually just don't work at all, and it's like, well, what's going on here? So gun IMS is particularly useful in these people, with the premise being that their nervous system is sensitised, and that's why they can't break out of this pain cycle. So that's the main role of gun IMS, and it's looking at segmental nervous system dysfunction. So we look for, what's going on if that person have a knee problem? Does it have an L2, 3 or 4 problem, or do they have a C5, 6 problem with their rotator cuff or something like that? So it's tracing it back to segmental nervous system dysfunction. And again, that's different from trigger point dry needling, because the trigger point just says, oh, okay, you've got your quad sore, I'm going to stick a needle in your quad and release your quad, So safety, I'm going to talk a little, Justin's already talked about this, but I wanted to talk a little bit about this, particularly with respect to intramuscular dry needling, because once you start sticking needles in really deep all the time, you start to have a whole other level of risk that you're exposing your patients to. Dry needling can result in serious medical complications if technique parameters are lax or if practitioner skill is lacking. Justin spoke about this. He mentioned infection, he mentioned pneumothorax. Pneumothorax is the most commonly reported adverse effect in the Western world. So pneumothorax is a problem with dry needling, it happens. And other serious medical complications include spinal hematomas, spinal cord injury, and certainly permanent disability and death. A review that was done by Ernst in 2011. This was just looking at papers between 2000 and 2009. And this was no restriction on languages. It was all the typical databases, and also looking at, I believe it was a Chinese and Korean database as well. And they found 38 reports of infection. And that was just reported numbers. And they found 5 people had died. So that's a pretty serious medical complication. 4 of those happened following pneumothorax. So with pneumothorax being the most common adverse effect in the Western world, not just in the Eastern world, in the West, and it potentially due to complications causing death, it's something we want to be aware of and pretty careful about. So that leads on to this next little bit, the right to needle in physio practice, at least in BC, because the provinces all have their different regulations. So and Justin's touched on this, under the Health Professions Act, dry needling falls into the category of a procedure on the tissue below the dermis, and as such is a reserved act. And the idea of a reserved act is that it involves a significant risk of harm, and I think that agree from both Justin's slide and my slide that that's certainly the case. So until August of last year, as physios in BC, it was a fairly simple process to be accepted onto dry needling roster. It was a self-declaration model. That process has been put under a moratorium as of about August last year. No one has been able to add their name to the dry needling roster, while the college reviews the processes by which people are granted the right to dry needling in BC. So it's just about finishing up now. They've gathered all their information, and now in February, it's almost February, all that information is being taken to the board, and out of that we're told is going to be the new framework of what we all need to do to be allowed to dry needling in BC. So it's a bit watch this space at the moment. I'm sorry I can't tell you more about it, but it's in process. So if you are a student member of the college, so they'll send us out emails. It'll be on the website if you really are interested in dry needling training. It's all potentially about to change. So yes, I just spoke about that. So what courses are available? Justin and I aren't here to tell you what courses you should take. It's not our role, it's not our place. But Justin, I believe you're largely responsible for this. Justin, I think, has put quite a bit of time and effort into compiling a list of courses around Canada of various dry needling courses. So if you go to the Acupuncture Division website, there is a list up there you can have a look at. I put a little quote in here. This from the college. This was in an email they sent out. It was related to a quite different scenario. It wasn't about dry needling courses, but I thought it was a good one to put up because it's something you're going to face not just in your dry needling education, but all your physio education. They said we would encourage due diligence regardless of the type of continuing education you pursue. There are a lot of courses out there, so yeah, just do your homework and come at it from an informed perspective so you can make good decisions about where you spend your time and your money. But yes, you can certainly have a look at that list on the Acupuncture Division website if you'd like to get an idea of what the courses that are out there, because there are a lot of them. Justin.
And right on the heels of that here, which courses do you want to take? Look on the email, look on the website. But the Acupuncture Division, that's us. And our division head here is giving away bursaries to students and to physiotherapists here for courses themselves. 10 bursaries of $300 each in exchange for literature review, or 1 bursary of $500 for an grad accredited course. Now, that's why I say you're a student, but you kind of need to be a physio to actually take a course, right? Or follow along the guidelines here of which course you're actually talking about. So if you're interested in those, then just write your email or just give us information. Just give us any questions about that? Okay. We're going to transition here into the demo, and I'm going to give you the case history, and then we're going to move to rooms, right? So the case history is a 45-year-old female with subacromial pain in the shoulder. She's had it for 3 months' time. She's coming to physio. She's doing her physio thing, stretching and strengthening, seeing some modest benefit, but it's kind of not getting better yet. A bit more persistence in nature here, 3 months of physio or so, and she's having difficulty sleeping. The important thing is at the bottom, she has an interest in knowing more about needles and the acupuncture and IMS. And so this is the case study we're going to be asking her about. I would ask her, so we're going to go into the next room here, and we're going to do a demonstration of what I would do doing physiotherapy acupuncture and what she would do doing IMS. Yeah, the positions? Yeah, of course. Yeah, thank you. So, from the neuroanatomical portion here, there's lots of, the image is much more blurry on this screen than it is on this one. That's interesting. I'm sorry. There are a number of points here I've used here to treat subacromial impingement, bursitis, irritation, something of the shoulder girdle area, right? Some of the spots here I've located here are in the anatomical position here, and they have funny names. Some of them are small intestine 12, large intestine 16, large intestine 11. The names don't necessarily mean anything that I'm going to be putting needles into her large intestine, but they are very, very specific locations and points, such that when we're doing our tests here for neuroanatomical acupuncture, we're tested in a practical exam, and we have to be within 3 millimeters here of a point, within also the depth of it and also the angle of it here. So we're doing that the same for every person around. One of them here is going to be going near the shoulder capsule from the superior angle. The other one's going to be going into the radial nerve, or one of the branches of the radial nerve from the elbow. That's going to be traveling up to produce pain relief. The other one's going to be more proximally here related in upper fibers and trapezius to release some muscle tension on the top. That'll just be a smattering of 3 points that I choose. I'm going to demonstrate here today, out of course, maybe about 15 points that I could possibly do for her, depending on her tolerance to needles. Those are the ones I'm going to do, and Lyndal's going to demonstrate or introduce you to her side.
So it's actually really interesting when you look at that, for me at least, to look at the acupuncture slide of the points that would be used for this sort of pain, and then thinking about what I would use, and there is quite a bit of crossover, so it should be nice to see that too. One of the things, and I won't get into too much today, it's just beyond the scope of why we're here, is the first thing you would do using gun IMS model as opposed to trigger point drone model is look at the whole body, and we're looking for this, just like this idea that of the nerve root being at risk in the vertebral foramen mechanically, particularly people with postural issues if they're in relative extension, the C-spine or L-spine, the joint goes into extension, the space in the intervertebral foramen is reduced, and the nerve is exposed to compression or traction. So that's one of the premises. I'm not going to get into that too much, but just to help you to get the idea between gun IMS and trigger point draining. In a gun IMS approach, you would look at how do I relieve this adverse mechanical load on that nerve root in a whole body sense, but also at the local nerve root. So in a whole body sense, we might be looking at trying to change someone's sway back posture to open up the neck via the low back. That's just an example. But if we then look into what's happening at the local nerve root, if we found this person actually had signs of a C5 nerve root problem, then we would locally come in and needle C5 on either side, because what needling a muscle does is it loosens the muscle. So if the muscle is tight, pulling it into extension, compressing the nerve, we release the muscle lengthens, opens up the space around the nerve. So that would be a different thing with gun IMS versus trigger point dry needling, which would be the next thing, which is where you would look at the local cuff pain, for example. So this person's got rotator cuff problems, their bursa is inflamed, etc. I'm going to needle their supra and their infraspinatus. So they would be looking at what's happening at C5. They just look here. In gun IMS, we tend to look at both. Try to give some mechanical and pain relief with the shoulder too. So I'll demo super and infra on Justin, and just like Justin said, not necessarily a full treatment, just to give you a bit of an idea about the different styles and different clinical wisdom behind both approaches. Okay.
Some of those fielding the questions here we had. This is a time here you can pick our brains about what's going on. And any questions you got?
Well, someone was asking you a question just as we were leaving, just we finished up back there. Or was about to ask a question? You've already forgotten.
I think she asked how long the schooling was for each of the acupuncture nights.
We can speak to our own schooling.
Yeah, well, just because Justin's handing out, I'll talk about gun IMS. For the gun IMS training, there are two parts, part 1, part 2. Part 1 is 4 days, part 2 is 3 days, and they're normally separated by a few months because you have case studies and extra learning to do between part 1 and part 2. And I think the big thing about gun IMS that's good to know is that there are prerequisites. So you need to have been practicing as a physio in a musculoskeletal or a neuro setting for 4 years full time, and you need to also have either done, I believe it's level 3 of the orthopedic training, the orthopedic system, or the Acupuncture Foundation of Canada training that Justin has done. So that's a good chance to hand over to Justin in terms of what he's trying.
So I've only been practicing for 3 years. So even at this stage here with my training and what I've done here, I'm still can't even qualify to take.
It's close though.
I'm like 1 year away from being eligible. Whereas the Acupuncture Canada, I can speak to that one. I did start that one when I was a student. The schooling did take here 6 weeks blocks of learning here and the practical exam, and then there's another 6 weeks blocks of learning and practical exam. At the end of the day here, it was 2 weekends that I took here for the practical portions, and then another 2 weekends here for the exam. But it kind of takes about a full year to make that happen, based on how often they run them through Vancouver. If you go online here to the cpaacupuncture.ca, you'll see a number of the courses and where they're being held. Some of them are in Vancouver, some of them are across different parts of the country here. I didn't include the ones that are offered in the States. But again, kind of going back to that original question here, the college, what is going to be allowed, what is going to be permitted, we have no idea. Yes.
Just an aside, just an explanation. The reason for the 4 years and extra training in gun IMS is it gives you a chance to develop your clinical reasoning. It gives you a chance to develop some palpation skills. which are both really, really important. You just can't do gun-IMS without those things. So, and the other thing to bear in mind is this is not the only thing that there is as a physio. You guys are learning all that stuff now. There are so many fantastic things. It's great to get out and have a chance to learn those foundational skills and assessment skills and clinical reasoning skills. So, I declared my bias. I think from the very first slide, I love gun-IMS and I love using it. It's pretty much all I do now. Just evolved that way, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other fantastic physiotherapy skills out there that it's really good to give yourself a chance to learn those and understand the power of those as well. Yeah.
Are there other similar programs that you need less years?
Like gun-IMS?
Yeah, that's similar. You don't need the full 4 years?
No, I think that's fair to say. Dr. Gunn has officially endowed this responsibility and the right to teach gun-IMS to UBC, which is why it's on IMS, gun-IMS, UBC gun-IMS. So this is the only teaching program for gun-IMS in Canada. And there are other programs. That's kind of why it went from IMS to gun-IMS to UBC gun-IMS, because people do similar. I haven't done any other courses, so I don't know what they do, but in terms of gun-IMS, it's similar.
But there's other courses, right? There's,
Yeah, absolutely.
There's other types of needling other than neuroanatomical acupuncture and other than gun-IMS, right?
Yeah. So
Because there's
it's
really no
important to say
regulation on
that
it.
we can really only speak to what we know. And so I don't like to talk about the courses because I haven't done them. I don't know. But that resource, that was you, wasn't just it's a great resource to have a look at and just see what else is out there. Hopefully I've given you a bit of a background in terms of the quite a big difference in terms of the background thinking and clinical reasoning, and then that's where all these different courses come from.
Do those 4 years have to be full-time in your setting?
I just was curious about the actual a day in a course or something. If you give kind of how the course goes, are you practicing on other people in the course, or
Yeah, we can speak to our own. With Acupuncture Canada, a day in the course here is learning some lecture, kind of like what we did, then going to a practical and doing the needling with supervision. And so every point that you learn, you have to experience. And even the scary ones, like the pterygoids, the masseters, and then the scary point here, and the feet points and the hand points, and the fang and the back sheet points, things like this. But we do it here out of respect here for our own bodies here, what we're going to do for our patients here, and it gives a really good awareness of it. During those times, it's heavily draining to get all that needling here, so you have to be really, really healthy, I would say, if you want to do a course, because it's a lot, it's very taxing on the body.
Yeah, same with IMS, and I think you'll find that most programs, because pregnancy is a contraindication for all forms of diabetes, as far as I'm aware, certainly, Justin mentioned it's a contraindication for gun-IMS, so pregnant women generally aren't allowed on the courses because you can't participate, because it's so important to know how it feels and experience it, because it can be quite an experience for the first time in bed, and unless you've experienced it yourself, I don't think you can do it as well in my life. Yeah. So I think you'll find that most courses you expect it to, unless there's some good reason for it. I mean, some people are very, very sensitive. Some people have, autonomic responses and they can't tolerate it. So if your body can't tolerate it, no, I'm not going to make you be needled. But if you can meet expectations, you will needle others and they will needle you.
Over like a 3-day period? Or, right? So like Friday night, Saturday all day, Sunday all day. It'll be like a weekend course. And look, we survived. That was a good question. Any others? Yes?
For the 4 years full-time experience, if you're working part-time, is it once you reach that same number of hours, so it might be across 5 years, then you're eligible?
Oh yeah, totally.
that
whatever that quote is.
that number of hours that it'll
In the back.
Do you see a benefit of getting both? So because like you can't get that one for at least 4 years. The gun diamonds,
Yeah,
you can't get right away, but the acupuncture.
Yeah, I think you can start even during uni, can't you?
There's not much exclusion criteria for some schools, right? The question here is there benefits to taking both schools? Yes, right, yeah, absolutely, depending on where your career takes you, right? So, I mean, for the acupuncture here, I could go in a couple different directions here with what I could be happy with where I'm at right now, right? And take some upgrade courses to be, or I could take advanced acupuncture courses and really go into the traditional Chinese medicine, or I could start branching into the trigger point dry needling sort of venue on that one. Essentially, as a physio here, you'll realize once you get out and graduate, there's so many courses to take, and they do shape how we practice and how we think and how we treat. And so there's benefit to that if that's the direction you want to go into. Yes. But it's expensive to take a lot of courses. In back.
I just had a question about where exactly you want a needle. So aside from muscle palpation and just postural observation, are there any maybe schools of thought that would help sort of with your assessment and I guess where you place the needle as part of your treatment? For example, something that comes to mind is just Diane Lee's sort of an integrated systems model. And I've seen physiotherapists who use that to sort of assess this is where I'm going to place the needle and that's going to help out. So, did anybody maybe speak to that, sir?
Just say the very last bit, I was following you through the Diane Lee integrated systems model, and then you say an example.
Yeah, do you know any physiotherapists who can use that model to sort of know where needed when they're things are at?
Yeah.
Do you want to answer that one?
From a gun IMS perspective, it's you use it. It's a complete system, so you're not combining with other concepts or systems because it in and of itself is a complete model. That doesn't mean you never do anything with people otherwise in terms of exercise, or maybe at some point some sort of manual therapy is appropriate. So that's from the guidance perspective. From working as a clinician out in the world, people do anything and everything. And why they do that, you have to ask them. And that's part of developing your own frameworks.
Yeah, I hope my question makes sense just because based on a personal anecdote where I saw a physio who assessed my shoulder and said, I think it might be coming from your right foot. And I said, this is crazy. And then he actually did something with the right foot. Oh, my shoulder's feeling great.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah. And I think that's as you work more and more as physios, you will start to see patterns emerge and things like that you pick up. Without seeing a situation, I don't know what my assessment would be. But that could certainly relate to what we're saying with Justin's. I didn't like his low back. I didn't like his neck either. So people can be having a whole body issue that compresses down here, tightens up the foot muscles from the lumbar nerve roots, and at the same time you're getting cervical stuff that's affecting your shoulders. So that's actually these two things are combined because that's how you stand. So that might how you rate the gun IMS setting, but I'm not sure what that person will do.
Okay. Thank you.
And the thing to remember is that needles, when you stick a needle in the muscle, or release the muscle, no matter what model you're using, particularly if you get a local twitch response. So you probably loosened up your foot, and whatever mechanism then followed on from that affected your shoulder. So no matter what model you use, the needle's always going to be something.
And I use the word neuromodulation. So whenever I'm doing any kind of needling here, I'm modulating something, particularly the nervous system, right? And that has systemic effects, not just local effects. How they're going to be explained to the client and which integrated system model or meridian you're going to choose to language you're going to use, that's up to you. But our body is connected in weird and wonderful ways, and as physios, you get to kind of explore that here using systems. I think that's kind of what you're interested in, like learning different models. Sounds like makes sense to the world.
You hear Laura Mosley speak about neurotag and how everyone's pain systems is potentially different too. So, yeah, there are commonalities, but there's also differences just because we're individuals too. Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Awesome.
We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for your attention here, and thank you to Bo. You give him a hand here for organizing a little bit there.